Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all. And we're extremely happy that, in spite of it being a Friday and a day after the Independence Day, all of you have taken your time out to attend this webinar. And this has always been the purpose of Cambridge. As you know, we have a presence in 170 plus countries and a legacy of centuries. And as we pursue excellence wholeheartedly, and our team is one connected unit where we try to aid the spirit of inquiry, try to aid understanding, and create an spirit of curiosity. And to that effect, Teachers of Tomorrow is a platform that enables teachers across South Asia to come together, share their ideas, share best practices, articles, have access to webinars like these, where we invite esteemed panelists and educationists to share their experience. And like I said, the Teachers of Tomorrow provides that platform where we learn from each other, but most importantly, we focus on the implementation of practical, doable tasks, ideas in the classroom. Dialogic Talk, today's topic, deep dives into how to cultivate an environment where learners are encouraged to delve into their critical thinking faculties. To facilitate this discussion, we are honored and elated to have with us Ms. Swapna Gupte, the principal, Daffodil International School, Pune. In her words, a good educator is always learning, growing, and improving, which resonates with the entire spirit of the webinar today, because all of you have joined for that particular purpose: to grow, to learn, to unlearn, and to relearn. So without further ado, ma'am, extremely elated to have you with us. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Priyanka, for this lovely introduction, and good afternoon, all the educators. As she's rightly said, we are here to learn from each other and not teach anything to anyone. So without any further delay, we will start and talk about today's topic. Today's topic is about dialogic talk, which has two terms, dialogic and talk. Obviously, we all know what talk means. But what is that first word or words that you can think of when you hear the term dialogue? Can you quickly put it in your chat box? Any one word or two words that come to your mind when you hear the term dialogue?
So the first response is, ma'am, there's a logical conversation. Then the word
Okay, that's
communicate,
wonderful.
communicate, conversation. Conversation is reiterated, communication is reiterated, expression, exchange of ideas, very critical. A two-way
Absolutely.
conversation. Dialogue is nothing but communication.
Perfect,
Right.
perfect. Thank you so much, educators. Yes, absolutely, it's perfect what you have said, what dialogic is. So, this term, dialogic talk, was first developed by Robin Alexander throughout the early 2000s. However, this concept of dialogic talk can be traced back to Socrates. So, Socrates suggested that the education practice should be centered around the notions of dialogue, and the questions should elicit new thinking and not probe for some set of answers. So there could be a question which a teacher and student may engage, the answer of which neither of may not know, suggesting that the process is more important than the outcome. That is what Socrates had said. Now we'll quickly see what Robin Alexander sees as a dialogic talk. So, this is what Robin Alexander said: Dialogic talk harnesses the power of talk to stimulate and extend children's thinking and to advance their understanding and learning. This is what we all do day in, day out. It also enables the teachers to diagnose and assess. Every lecture, every class, we try to diagnose and assess if the learning has happened between the teacher or the facilitator and the students. Dialogic teaching is distinct from the question answer tell routines of the so called interactive teaching, aiming to be more consistently searching and more genuinely reciprocal and cumulative. This is what Robin Alexander defined dialogic talk as. So, in simple terms, dialogic talk encourages open ended questions enhanced with prompts that foster critical thinking, reflection, and active engagement. We all think about this when we start our lecture. So, this is exactly what your dialogic talk will help you with. We will now look at some of the key features of a dialogic talk. What you can see on screen are key features of dialogic talk. I will try and explain each one shortly. So, dialogic talk is characterized by several collaborative communication, but these are some of the most essential features of a dialogic talk. The first one, of course, being open ended questions. In last week's webinar, I'm sure a lot of you have already heard a lot about questioning skills by Achma ma'am, and she spoke in depth about open ended questions. But open ended question encourage your exploration and deeper thinking about the topic in hand. It kind of invites the learners to elaborate on their thoughts and ideas when you pose open ended questions to them. The second one, if you look at, is active listening, which is an extremely important skill that we need to develop in our learners. So it involves genuinely paying attention to others' contributions. And I'm using the word others because it could be the facilitator, it could be your other peer learners who are contributing towards a topic. It also shows the respect and validation for each learner's input. So, active listening is an extremely important feature for a dialogic talk. You may use a very simple technique like Socrates circle, which will help you improve their listening skills. You can read more about these techniques over the internet. I'll just give you those techniques. The next one is building on ideas. So here you're going to have your learners to add to or refine their own or others' ideas. So one learner may give in a point and other learners may add more points to it. It will also have a collaborative construction of knowledge and understanding about the topic in hand. Very simple techniques like your think, pair, share or snowballing activities will help you on building one idea and actually cultivating into a common theme that you wanted to reach to. Respectful challenges. So, this encourages questioning and critical examination of ideas. When you put up an idea as a facilitator or a learner puts it up, people may question it or critically examine the idea, which is absolutely perfect. It allows for constructive disagreement and debate. When an idea has been put up, unless and until there is a dialogue, you may not have a constructive disagreement or debate. So, very simple techniques like your four corner debates or a spectrum debate or a walking debate will help you actually have this feature in your classroom. The next one being shared control of dialogues. Here you will have learners should have equal opportunity to contribute to a particular idea. The discussions should not be dominated by a single voice or a single perspective. You need to make them think about different perspectives. We will finally go and check how to do it, but right now you just imagine that this feature, you will with this feature you will have multiple perspectives and multiple ideas. So when you want a shared control, a very simple technique like your stick debate will help you, where you just give in probably two or three ice cream candies to each learner, and if he or she wishes to speak, they will hand over one ice cream stick to you. So once that stick is given to you, they have lost a turn. So they will think and then speak, and only one person will not speak continuously. Encouragement of diverse perspectives. This is obviously about respectful challenge and shared control of dialogue as well. This invites and values different viewpoints and experiences. You will have to make it do. You will have to ensure that each learner is thinking about his own perspective. You're inviting them to make their perspective, to ensure that others listen to it carefully and value it as a viewpoint. It may be right, it may be wrong. This recognizes that multiple perspectives can enhance understanding of one topic. And an extremely powerful tool here is Edward de Bono's Six Thinking Hats. If you have not read about it, please go ahead and read about Edward de Bono's Six Thinking Hats. There are multiple ways to actually implement it in a classroom, but with this one activity, you will definitely encourage diverse perspectives for one topic. The next one being clarification and elaboration, which we all do as facilitators. You're going to seek deepen understanding through explanation and example. You will either give it or you may take it from your learners. Here, your learners are going to ask for clarifications when they need, and you need to have an environment where they will seek for that clarification. The eighth one being reflective thinking. Reflection is something which is, I think, dear to all of us as facilitators. It encourages learners to reflect on their own and others' ideas. They need to do it for both. This reflective thinking definitely promotes metacognition and self awareness. Very simple techniques like your exit ticket, muddiest point, or plus minus interesting. You may use any technique, but ensure that they are doing a reflection of what they thought and what they spoke during a class, during your learning time. Focus on reasoning. When you have a dialogic talk, you will emphasize the reasoning behind opinions and statements. You will encourage evidence based discussions. They will not be lost in only statements. Very simple techniques like your fact or opinion sheets will help you and the learners to understand whether it is a fact or an opinion, and then it will encourage them with evidence based discussions and decisions further. The last one, but definitely not the least, is supportive environment. When we talk a lot about dialogic talk, you will have to create a safe space where learners feel comfortable of sharing. It is not about right or wrong. It is just their comfort to speak their perspective, their point, their opinion. It could be a fact either. You will have to ensure that the environment as such which reduces the fear of judgment or being ridiculed, which most of the learners do have in most of the classes. So by incorporating these features, dialogic talk will foster a collaborative and dynamic environment where learners can engage in meaningful and productive discussions. If you were to put these features in Diamond 9, which one would be on number one according to you? And of course, why, in a very few sentence, one statement in the chat box. Priyanka, could you help me with this?
Please share your responses, everyone. Ma'am, could you just repeat the question once more, ma'am? Yeah. So,
Okay. So
open-ended
if you
questions.
were to
Mhm.
put these features in Diamond 9, okay, open-ended
So, ma'am,
questions is number one for everyone.
yes. Supportive environment also, ma'am, reiterated by most
Okay.
people. Then encouragement of diverse perspectives, reflective thinking, active
Okay.
listening, reflective thinking again, building on ideas, and supportive
Okay.
environment has been repeated. Reflective thinking has been repeated, and but there is a consensus on supportive environment, I guess, amongst all the teachers in
Okay.
education who have
Absolutely.
joined.
Wonderful. Thank you,
Building on
Priyanka. So
ideas. Yes.
ideally, all of them are important. It will depend on your learners, your topic at hand, and you know them the best. So each feature will be important for you, but you will pick up one when you actually enter the class and you decide upon it that how will you have your dialogic talk when you enter your class. So dialogic talk is going to encourage open-ended and thoughtful discussions, but this can be enhanced with prompts that foster critical thinking, reflection, and active management. I have been using this term prompts repeatedly. So let's look at what are prompts. So, prompts in dialogic talk are questions or statements or cues that used to stimulate conversation, encourage deeper thinking, and facilitate meaningful discussion among the learners. So, these prompts are generally designed to open up a dialogue or invite multiple perspectives and help learners engage critically and reflectively with the topic at hand. This is what prompts are. We will definitely look at some of the examples of our prompts now. So, what we're going to do is we're going to look at some samples of prompts. So, let's say your first one is a general discussion prompt. I'm looking at clarification and elaboration. What do you mean by that? Could you provide an example to illustrate your point? Or how did you come to that conclusion? You are making them think now. When they have given an answer, or when one person has answered, you're asking this question to your other learners. Exploration and inquiry. You may ask questions like, what are the possible consequences of this action? Or how might this idea be applied in a different context? Or what other perspectives can we consider? If you are feeling that only one perspective is being considered, you will now ensure that other perspectives are got into your class. Connections and reflections. You could ask questions like, how does this relate to what we discussed earlier? Or can you connect this idea to your personal experience? Or what have you learned from this discussion so far? So, if you feel you want to now have a small summary, this could help and gather all your points together. Challenging and counterparting. So, let's say you could ask something like, what might be a counter argument to this point? You want a counter argument. So, you're asking them, you're making them talk. Are there any potential weaknesses to this argument? You may ask the same learner or others that one person has made an argument. Now you're seeking weaknesses about that particular argument. Or something like, how would you respond to someone who disagrees? So you are telling a learner that somebody disagrees to your point. How do you think you will respond to it? These are some generic ones, and I have taken two examples, one from literature humanities and one from science math. So, literature and humanities, you may say something like, what do you think the character's motivation affects their actions? How, what themes do you see emerging from this text? Or how does this historical event influence contemporary society? When you give them cues or questions that they will make them think reflectively, then they will discuss, they will make points, valid points that you are looking for from them. Science and mathematics, something like, what do you predict will happen in this experiment and why? Before you give away the answer, you are asking them to predict something. Or how does this mathematical concept, how can this be applied in real life situations? Or something like, what are ethical implications of this scientific discovery? So somebody discovered plastic, we all are so happy. Are there any implications? You are now making them think about the implications a scientific discovery may have. So these are simple prompts. They are generally designed to encourage deeper thinking and active participation and a richer dialogue. That is most important. You will have to definitely adjust them based on your context and content specific and the learners that are involved to ensure a productive and an engaging discussion. Once you take into consideration all this and these questions, these cues are ready in your lesson plan, trust me, your lessons will have an excellent dialogic talk in your classrooms. Can you think of any prompt that will enhance your learning and it could help others as well? Priyanka, can we have one or two from the participants?
Requesting for response. Meanwhile, I'm sharing the detailed list that ma'am has shared with me. You can First share, then I'll be adding it in the list. Okay. Prompts can be pictures as well, picture clues as well. Then decision making. Where have you seen it outside of school? Right. So these are how am I doing? How can you apply this in
Yes,
real life?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Exam. Yeah. Please go ahead, ma'am. We can ask to describe the impact of cultural differences on personal identity using specific examples. Relate to a real life
Correct.
application. Do you agree with your answer? Okay, these are some of the prompts, ma'am, that have come up in the
Wonderful,
topic.
wonderful. I'm sure the prompts have already. Yes, wonderful. These prompts are good.
Think of an
Wonderful,
alternative
wonderful. They're
end to
lovely
the
prompts.
story. Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let them keep coming, Priyanka. We can anyway share the chat with our participants later. So we will now move ahead with what are the positive outcomes that a dialogic talk can lead to. So effective dialogic talk leads to new. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Priyanka, can we move ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is breaking a bit, ma'am.
Let's continue. So first one I was talking about is the positive outcome of a dialogic talk. It's definitely enhanced understanding, so your learners will develop a deeper and more nuanced understanding of the topic and the issue being discussed. You will have an improved critical thinking. Engaging in a dialogic talk encourages learners to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize the information critically. So it will also have a greater engagement and participation. You will have an open and inclusive dialogue that fosters active participation and engagement from all involved, which is what we all look at as facilitators. You will have an increased collaboration and cooperation. A dialogic talk generally promotes a sense of shared purpose and collective problem solving, leading to a better teamwork and collaboration. You will see a lot of development of communication skills. So, learners will improve their ability to articulate their ideas clearly, listen actively, and respond thoughtfully. So, development of communication skills becomes an extremely important positive outcome in a good dialogic talk. You will see enhanced creativity and innovation. There will be a lot of exposure to diverse perspectives and ideas that can spark creativity and lead to innovative, better solutions. The next one being better conflict resolution. So you will see a lot of respectful and constructive dialogue, which helps resolve conflicts by addressing misunderstandings and finding common ground. You will see a lot of personal growth and self-awareness. Reflective thinking during dialogic talk encourages personal growth and increased self-awareness. Empathy and understanding of others, listening to and considering different viewpoints fosters empathy and a better understanding of others' experiences and perspectives. They will learn to make informed decisions. So, dialogic talk supports evidence based reasoning, so leading to more informed and well considered decisions. You will see a lot of positive learning environment in your class. So in an educational setting, a dialogic talk creates supportive and collaborative learning environment that will enhance student motivation and achievement. It will strengthen relationships. So effective communication, it without saying it goes that through a good dialogic talk can build trust and strengthen relationship among learners and with the facilitator as well. Adaptability and flexibility. Engaging in a good dialogic talk helps learners become more open to changing their views and adopting to new information and perspectives. Cumulative knowledge building. Ideas are going to be linked and developed over time. So, leading to a richer and more comprehensive understanding of complex topics. So, generally, by fostering these outcomes, effective dialogic talk contributes to a growth and development of individuals and groups. So, leading to more productive, harmonious, and innovative environments. Definitely, we've spoken a lot about dialogic talk, its features, its positive outcomes. The main important question that will come to your mind is, how do I implement dialogic talk in my classroom? I have already named few strategies which will reach you probably in the chat box. You may look at them, but apart from that, these are simple techniques. So start off by asking open-ended questions. Somebody has already put this: use visual aids. So visual aids can include pictures and diagrams. They foster a lot of dialogic talk. The minute you put in an image and you ask them to describe it, you give ask them to give their thoughts about the image. You can provide them with multiple choice options. Let them think about each option and not about what is wrong and what is right. Allow students to take turns speaking. You will definitely have those one or two who will continuously want to speak. So you will have to ensure that you give the control to each one in a shared manner. Have students write down key points from each person's contribution. So that will improve their active listening. Encourage students to share opinions and experiences. You will have to now motivate them to give their opinions. Give feedback after every turn. Very important. After they have spoken, please give feedback to whatever they have spoken to. Make sure there is enough silence between speakers. When two people cannot speak at the same time, then there is no listening happening. Don't interrupt when someone speaks. Let the learners also not do it, and you as facilitator also do not do it. And be prepared to listen carefully. Only when you listen carefully and actively will you be able to have a good dialogic talk. And let everyone finish speaking. That is most important. That's it from my side, Priyanka. If there are any questions, I am
Sure.
open to answer.
Ma'am, thank you so much. And we are really grateful for you to share these practical strategies. So, we have a couple of questions lined up, and we'll start taking them one by one because, in the interest of time. So, the first question is um, in what ways can dialogic talk be adapted to enhance virtual discussions where non-verbal cues are limited or absent?
So when there are non-verbal clues, you will still have these questions put up, right? Perfectly, they may not speak, but they will write it down. So their thought process automatically starts. Even and that's what we want our learners to do. We want them to think and we want them to write as well. So when we are talking about young learners, it is necessary that they do both. So whether it's in a classroom situation or it's in a virtual situation, give them the chance, give them the cues, give them the questions, and let them write it down.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is, how do we apply dialogic talk in a preschool setting?
Uh, can you repeat it, Ina?
How can we apply dialogic talk to a preschool situation, preschool
Oh,
setting,
yes, of course, of course. So,
children?
in fact, if you read out some questions to me from the chat box, so even if it's a preschool setting, the level of questions, the words will change, but you will have a lot of dialogue with your questions. You may some We also spoke about images. So what image you show will depend on your learner's age. If it's a preschool, you might want to show an image that adapts to them. You might want to use words or questions which adapt to them, which they understand. But questions like, can you relate it to what you did during your vacation, or when you went to a picnic, or when you went to a zoo, will definitely help even at preschool level.
Right. Ma'am, the next question is, how can cultural diversity influence dialogic talk? How can cultural diversity influence dialogic talk?
Wonderful question. Absolutely. In fact, dialogic talk will all dwell upon perspectives and diverse cultures. So when we let everybody speak, we will understand their culture, their perspectives, their diversity. And when you have a collaboration of different diverse perspectives, it will help you understand cultures and respect different cultures.
Ma'am, how do we understand dialogic talk in the context of language learning?
Okay,
Learning
so
languages.
correct. So I had given them a few cues for languages, but likewise, so I said something where, how you talk about a character. What is it that the character is? What are you looking from that particular character when you probably narrate a story? Whether you want a particular moral, whether you want them to build that character, whether you want it to want them to become more creative about a character and then make their own description about it. It will all depend on what is it that you are looking from the learners from. So if the learning outcome will matter, and for that, that's exactly what I said, that if your learning outcome is ready in your lesson plan, your dialogic talk questions have to be already ready. If you know what you want from them, your questions will be according to your learners and your context and your topic.
Wonderful, ma'am. And we'll take the final question for today, ma'am, in the interest of time. So, the question is, how does dialogic talk benefit learners who fall within the spectrum? Basically, we are referring to improving learners or learners with differentiated learning abilities.
Oh, that's beautiful question. So yes, when you have differentiated learning abilities, what happens is you may have someone who really is well thought, who can articulate his thoughts very well, but you may have someone who cannot do it. So initially, he will play a role of active listener and listen to a person who can articulate his thoughts properly. When he becomes an active listener, slowly he is now learning the words, he is learning to articulate his thoughts and also give his diverse perspective in the room. Definitely, when you have diverse learners, it will help you a lot. Using a good dialogic talk, and of course being a facilitator which will who will ensure that you are giving the chance to each of your learner to speak. Whether it is right or wrong does not matter.
Ma'am, I said it was a final question, but we have a really intriguing and interesting question. We'll take that as a final question for today.
Sure, no problem.
So, how can dialogic talk strategies be used to transform polarized debates into collaborative problem solving sessions?
Absolutely, they can. And if you, I was naming few of the strategies as I spoke about the features. So if you look at those strategies, this is exactly what they will be doing. You are going to make them think, you are going to make them debate, you are going to make them contradict others' thoughts, you're going to make them have different perspectives. And those strategies, like your Edward de Bono's or a spectrum debate or four corners or a stick debate or a walking debate, will help them have a debate and collaborate their thoughts and finally effectively come to a conclusion that as a facilitator you are looking at.
Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all,
Pleasure.
really grateful to everybody who has joined in today. And thank you for bearing with us during a small technical glitch. So, thank you so much. Secondly, thank you, the audience, because you kept the discussion so engaging, so immersive with your really interesting questions.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much for that. And, ma'am, really, our gratitude goes out to you, ma'am, because you really focused on those strategies that will help the teachers connect with learners better, and it organically ties itself to the final stage of Bloom's taxonomy, which focuses on the creation of knowledge, where an environment conducive enough helps the learners to dip into their higher order thinking skills and to come up with unique and interesting perspectives, which is basically active learning at its best. So, thank you so much for doing that for
Thank
us.
you, Priyanka, and thank you, Cambridge, for giving me this opportunity to at least put up whatever I could. I'm not saying it's the best, and it's definitely not the end. We have a lot more discussion. This is a huge topic, which is a dense topic, and definitely cannot be finished in 30 minutes. But I'm sure people will now start thinking about it and reading about it.
Yes, you have ignited the curiosity. So thank you for doing that, ma'am. The compliments are flowing in like
Thank
a
you.
whole thunderstorm and hurricane. The compliments are coming in. Thank you, everyone, and thank you again, ma'am. It was wonderful having all of you, and
My
thank
pleasure.
you, ma'am, once again. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.